Alright everyone, usually when someone who's not armed gets killed by police, it's a big thing in the United States and people kneel for the national anthem, they take a knee and they say police brutality is an issue. But if they're named Ashli Babbit and they happen to have a MAGA hat on and they get gunned down while doing absolutely nothing but standing there, that's acceptable. Right now, I don't hear a single MSM talking head, a single mainline politician, including, by the way, even some of the MAGA politicians, or single corporation hasn't changed its logo's color to red, MAGA red, or anything like that. We have multiple individuals, some of which don't appear to have been engaged in anything other than, at the time, being part of a riot. They weren't armed or anything like that, getting shot by Capitol Police and killed. Now, you've also got injuries. Some of the injuries were police, others were protesters, but as far as I know, all the deaths were the result of getting shot by the cops. Where's the outrage? Where's hashtag justice for Ashli Babbit or any of the other victims? Why isn't the MSM echoing their name and talking about how we need a national conversation about whether Capitol Police should carry firearms? Why are we calling the people who broke into the Capitol terrorists when people who broke into the U.S. Senate building many months ago during the Kavanaugh protest? Now, those were protesters. Everyone took a knee and said they understood. Oh, you shouldn't be breaking into the Senate building, but we understand. We'll talk to you. Come into my office. Have some hot cocoa. But no, these people were terrorists. Part of it, I think, is that they had the QAnon shaman dude there. Yeah, when you're led by a dude in a buffalo hat wielding a spear, it's not the greatest optics in the world. It can be funny. It's not funny when people die, though. By the way, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's odd. People show up for a riot and then they don't expect any violence, I guess. Not even prepared for it. Like, not even wearing, like, a bulletproof vest. Are those allowed in D.C.? I don't know, I think New York just banned the purchase of them, but their law appears toothless because it doesn't insinuate that it's illegal for you to have one, just to purchase it in the state of New York. Which is interesting because you can purchase it in any adjacent state. You can have it mailed to a friend, and then, oh no, I had it to begin with. Well, I don't think that's enforceable. So yeah, I call for justice for Ashli Babbit. I also call, by the way, another name you never hear, Sequoia Turner. Remember when that little 8-year-old black girl was shot by a BLM member who opened fire on their family's vehicle for trying to get around their riot? You remember that? No, you don't. It wasn't talked about by the MSM. Neither will this be. The Capitol Police fired on a group of people who, by and large, were just sort of milling around. The amount of things, like, they're saying, there was a tweet earlier where the MSM was like, oh, so here's a couple of House members cleaning up wreckage after the riots the other day. The wreckage in question, if you look at the picture, is some plastic water bottles, and it looked like a can of tuna, oddly enough. There's some cans and bottles, lots of wreckage. Dude, it was squeaky clean compared to the riots that we've seen over the past months. In any U.S. city. Look at Chaz. Look at the garden they tried to build. There was more damage done by Antifa trying to start urban farming than several thousand LARPers getting into the U.S. Capitol building. But you're not going to hear about that in the MSM. Most of those people don't even know Chaz existed. They've all fucking completely forgotten about it. This won't be memory hold, though, but the victims will. Yes, I consider it a victimization. When someone is breaking the law, but they're not hurting anybody, and she, particularly herself, does not appear to have participated in destroying property. And the Capitol Police indiscriminately fire several shots into a crowd of people, none of which have firearms, despite the fact that it's quite clear they're not going to be able to break through several inches of solid fucking mahogany. Yeah, I'd say that that's an unprovoked shooting. And by the way, it's interesting because if a person... remember Jacob Blake. He's a big time. You've got a holograms of him and Fentanyl Floyd all over the U.S. still on tour, so they can grovel for more fucking money. He attacked cops. He had an outstanding felony warrant. He attacked police. They tased him. He went for a knife. Then they shoot him, and that's a national tragedy. Burn down Wendy's. Ashli Babbit, unarmed individual, stands there in the wrong spot when the guard fires, gets killed. I'm seeing that there is a difference here. It's that in the latter case, the person, while engaged in a felony at the time, was not a violent felon. They weren't throwing punches or rocks or anything else. Meanwhile, you have groups of people openly sparring in U.S. cities on a nightly basis, and it gets almost no coverage in the press. If they're referred to at all, it's just mostly peaceful protests. Yeah, they burned 5 buildings. Nah, it's only a few. Don't blame the whole crowd for a few arsonists. Why are we blaming this whole crowd for what a few people were doing, trying to break down a door and sparring with police? The police waved them in. Earlier on, There's footage right now on Twitter of a DC cop literally waving the rioters into the Capitol area. Literally waving them towards the building. That's mysterious. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. It's almost like they wanted them there in order to get a goddamn photo op for MSM propaganda purposes. To try to, number one, to get rid of Trump. Number two, to outlaw populism. Number three, to purge people on big tech and make a lot of money. Corporations love it. People like me have become an uncomfortable reality for big tech, and they want us gone. I wouldn't be surprised if they start purging people just for having supported Trump. Well, you support a person who we've deemed to be terroristic, therefore you're promoting terrorism and run afoul of our TOS. They banned Lynn Wood just for going on a schizophrenic psycho break. That's basically what happened. Him sitting LARPing to get attention. Maybe he just wanted more money to fund his legal suits. I would think that the settlements he's getting with Sandman probably has set him for life. I wouldn't be surprised if they start trying to prosecute people who had nothing to do with this particular incident. So yeah, Ashli Babbit, unarmed young female, just gets shot, just happens to be in the wrong spot. Nobody's taking a knee. Politicians gave a standing ovation to Capitol Police once the rioters were gone. Even though there were people bleeding out at that very time. Oh, it's wonderful. You did such a good job. No, they didn't. They failed. First, they failed to have enough security to prevent these people from entering the building. Once they did, they gunned several of them down, despite the fact that they weren't armed. It's a miracle that none of these people were concealed carrying at the time and managed to breach the building further and start going on a killing spree. Then it really would be another 9/11. The DC police barely even tried to stop it. Only when they tried to advance on a room full of Congress people was any action taken. Before that, nobody did shit. The guards just ran through the hallways and, attempted lamely to barricade a few doors. So Ashli Babbit was murdered in cold blood by an overzealous guard. That's about all. Peace out.